Today's video is all about the Way Huge Aqua-Puss and how John Mayer uses this pedal. The Way Huge Aqua-Puss has been one of John Mayer's biggest mainstays on his pedal board. You can really trace back to at least 2004 and pretty much every single pedal board John has had, for a small show all the way to his large arena touring pedal boards. They have all had at least some version of the Way Huge Aqua-Puss on it. Now, today's video, we're going to be going over 4 really great examples of John using the Aqua-Puss in a live context. Now, the reason why we're talking about 4 examples here and not just every example is because one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to John Mayer's gear is that the Aqua-Puss, for that slapback delay, is always on, which just is not true. And today I'm going to provide you guys with 4, just again, really great examples that highlight when he uses it and what it actually sounds like in the context with his own rig. And bear with me for just one moment here, because before we get into these 4 examples, I just want to discuss this pedal briefly to you guys right now. Now, if you guys want to know the history of John with this pedal, his uses of the different models, and just photos of them in his rig over the years, I've done a whole deep dive video on the history of John with this pedal, which he has been quoted typing in on Way Huge's page on Instagram as a remarkable pedal that pretty much completely changed his thinking in regards to slapback delay. So there's a full history video of this pedal on my channel. It'll be linked in the description below and carded up above for you guys. Now, if you guys are wondering what the differences are in sound between the Mark I and then the reissues, which are known as the Mark II and the Mark III, my really good friend, the London guitarist, did an amazing video going over the differences in a demonstration between all 3 versions of the Aqua-Puss. So that will also be linked and carded for you guys to check out as well if you're interested in the tonal differences. I own this Mark I AP2 version here, and maybe I'll do a video of my own like that at some point, but his video is honestly perfect, and it's the only one you would ever really need to watch. And the last thing I thought I should mention is actually just kind of in the prep phase of making this video, I was on Reverb, and there is actually one of these Mark I Aqua-Pusses on Reverb at the time of me recording this video. And if you actually go to the Mark I Aqua-Puss's product page on Reverb, you'll actually see an embedded link of my video when I actually got my Mark I Aqua-Puss, kind of like a vlog video that I did. I just discovered that a few minutes ago, and I thought that was really cool. So thanks, Reverb, for promoting one of my videos, I guess. And that video is on the channel, and I'll link that in the description down below as well, because this is a pedal that I tried to find for a few years at least. They were going off Reverb within a matter of seconds, and I finally tracked one down, and the hype necessarily hasn't faded, but just more of them in the past year have shown up for sale. I think people may be just cashing in on these, you know, kind of ridiculously priced pedals at this point, but there is one for sale now if you have been wanting one, and there you go. So let's get right on into our very first example here. And when I picked these 4 examples, I wanted kind of a bit of a different context in terms of when John is using them, but also from different eras. So the very first era we are actually going over is the John Mayer Trio, and this is actually from Out of My Mind live on the Try album. Now, I'm just going to overlay the audio on just some performance footage from another show of John, but if you listen to the solo, you can hear that Mark I Aqua-Puss, the AP2 version, very clearly. That Out of My Mind performance is just crazy. It's so good, and I just love John's Crossroads 335. I mean, it's just a beautiful sounding guitar. Now let's move on to the next example, and the next example is actually a song that has 2 delays going throughout the entire thing, and we're going to be talking about Vultures. Now in order for John to perform Vultures in the correct way, he actually needs 2 different delays going at the same time. He would stack the Aqua-Puss with a longer delay pedal. Now of course, depending on the era, we're talking about the T-Rex Replica, Providence Delay 80s, Pete Cornish TES, whatever he was using for his longer delay sound at that time would be stacked with the Way Huge Aqua-Puss. Now let's take a listen to the main riff of Vultures. Vultures is just such a groovy song, and I really love how John kind of implemented 2 different delays in order to really make the song what it is and give that vibe and feel that you get. Because if he had no delay on, the song would just sound nowhere anything like what it does in the context. And the example that I provided for you guys is one of my favorite performances of Vultures ever. It's fantastic. That whole performance, I think, is just, pretty much up there with Where the Light Is, like close behind, but it's just absolutely wild. Now we are going to move on from the Continuum era, and we're actually going to go to the Search for Everything World Tour kind of timeline in 2017. Now this performance is from the Bud Light Dive Bar Tour, and it's Helpless. And when John kind of starts the show and he plays just a few muted notes, just chugs on his guitar, you actually really hear that slapback pretty clearly in the context of just his guitar. And then of course it gets a little bit more lost as the song actually begins and goes on, but at the start you can hear exactly just how that Aqua-Puss is set with his guitar ready to go for Helpless.
Los Angeles, Facebook, the world. Let's hear it for the world. All right.
Helpless is one of my favorite John Mayer songs too, and it's just really cool that before he gets into the song, you get to actually hear just his guitar without any other instruments going, and you really get to just hear that Aqua-Puss slapback on. And fun fact for you guys, the Aqua-Puss that he actually used during the Search for Everything era was a Mark II, the reissue Aqua-Puss, not the original Mark I, and that's the only time John's actually ever used a reissue Aqua-Puss for a big world tour pedal board over one of the Mark I versions. And this leaves us with our 4th and final example, and arguably my favorite, to be honest. I wanted to give you guys an example from Sob Rock, and there is no better example of how John uses the Aqua-Puss than in Wild Blue. Now, when John was performing those late night television performances and promotion of Sob Rock, he had just a small pedal board with a Way Huge Aqua-Puss Mark II on it. And when he launches into Wild Blue, as the pedal board is kind of covered in darkness, you see a bright blue LED, which is the LED of the Mark II Aqua-Puss. And that pedal is on for the entire song, and really just key to the effects that John uses for Wild Blue. Let's take a listen. Now, with these 4 different examples in mind, there are a couple key takeaways that I'll just leave you guys with before we end the video. Now, the way huge Aqua-Puss in the context of John and his effects and when he uses it, you can tell with songs like Vultures and Helpless that when he's playing something very percussive, it really adds in and sits very nicely. You know, Vultures, the way he's doing all that percussive, you know, palm muting and slapping while he's playing just the main part of the song, that slapback is a really beautiful element that he adds to that song. Even in Helpless, when he's just playing those very, again, just ba, ba, da, 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 when he's playing those main kind of chords of the song, the Aqua-Puss just sits there perfectly. But if he was playing something like Shot in the Dark, when John is playing those beautiful sustained chords and it's just a very mellow song, you really don't want that slapback sound coming in and being added into the context of that song. But for something like Helpless, Wild Blue, it fits perfectly. You know, even something like Edge of Desire. In those kind of contexts, the slapback adds to the song, and it's really just a nice, subtle effect just to help provide some more depth to what John is playing. Now, some advice that I can give you guys when you're trying to, you know, figure out when to use an Aqua-Puss at home if you're kind of doing a John Mayer-inspired thing and you have an Aqua-Puss. You definitely don't need it on, obviously, all the time. That's the best piece of advice I can give you. Less is more when it comes to the Aqua-Puss. Use it to enhance certain things you're playing, and don't just leave it on all of the time. But I mean, if you're playing like Waiting on the World to Change or something like that, it definitely is fun to add it on, and it can actually, you know, provide just some more depth again to what you're playing. But just experiment with what you also like. You don't have to do it exactly like John does. If this video has helped to give you guys a better understanding of kind of how and when John uses the way huge Aqua-Puss, then, well, I've done what I set out to do in this video, and I'm always just happy to make another one discussing what is just my favorite pedal and my grail pedal out of everything I own. This is just, you know, it's crazy. I love it. It's stupid, but it's fantastic. I just love this thing. Again, I can't stress that enough. And if you guys liked this video, please leave a comment down below if you guys want me to tackle any of the other effects that John has on his board or just has used in the past. Let me know in the comments down below, because it's really fun to kind of give you guys some actual examples from different concerts and different performances and kind of, okay, if you guys listen, he's using this pedal here in this way. And so you guys as well, the comments greatly help out the algorithm. Last video I've done, it's been doing pretty well, so thank you guys so much for that. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already as well. YouTube's so ridiculous. It's not going to change how much I show up recommended in your feed, regardless if you're subscribed or not. You're going to see a video of mine probably in there, hopefully in there, regardless if you're subscribed or not. But if you hit subscribe and like my content, it just helps me out and lets me know I'm doing a great job and to keep doing what I'm doing. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for the support and watching this video. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.